Welcome back to my channel Chemistry Made Simple for NEET. I am Dr. Lakshmi Subramaniam with a PhD in chemistry. In this video, we are going to study Part 2 D and F block elements of Class 12 NCERT Chemistry Unit 8. Here we are continuing with the concepts from where we left in our last video, and please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. So before we proceed with the section, I would like to tell you about ionization enthalpy. So what is ionization enthalpy? You can see this term in this lesson more frequently. So it is nothing but a minimum amount of energy required to remove the most loosely bound or attached electron from an isolated gaseous atom to convert it into gaseous cation is called ionization enthalpy. Its unit is electron volt per atom. And you might have seen or come across first ionization enthalpy, second ionization enthalpy, etc. What is the difference between first ionization enthalpy and second ionization enthalpy? Just listen to what I am telling. First ionization enthalpy is the energy required to remove mostly loosely held electron from neutral element. So in this case, electron is removed from an element, and second ionization enthalpy is energy required to remove electron from first ion generated due to first ionization enthalpy. I hope you understand the difference between these two. Now you can see the enthalpies of atomization in this chart, and you can see three series here. Series 1 in green, 2 in blue and 3 in red, and along the x-axis we are having the atomic number. So this is generalization which says that the metals of the second and third series, listen carefully, second and third series metals, they have greater enthalpies of atomization than the elements of the first series. This is an important factor in explaining the occurrence of more frequent metal-metal bonding in compounds of heavy transition elements. So that is the importance of this concept. And now you can see that if the number of atoms is greater, or the number of valence electrons are greater, then the bonding will be stronger. So what is meant by valence electrons? So valence electrons are electrons which are seen in the outermost shell of an electron, and which are the ones who take part in bonding or formation of bond. So the enthalpy of atomization, it's very important factor to determine the standard electrode potential of a metal. That is metals with very high enthalpy of atomization, that is very high boiling point. They tend to be noble in their reactions. And now the shielding effect of a d electron, which is not effective, so the net electrostatic attraction between nuclear charge and outermost electron will increase. So what happens when the nuclear charge increases? Because the nucleus is the one which holds the outermost, it attracts the outermost shell more closer towards it. So that would result in the decrease in the ionic radius, and the filling up of 4f, we saw this concept earlier, before 5d orbital also results in the regular decrease in atomic radii. We said that it is lanthanide contraction, and that compensates for the expected increase in atomic size when the atomic number increases. And also, what is the net result of lanthanide contraction? That is, the second and third d series will show same radii. Always again and again I repeat, this question mostly comes for the previous year's NEET exam also. We had this question, why ZR has 160 and HF has 115, and it's almost same radii because of the net result of lanthanide contraction. It shows similar radii, and they have very same close physical and chemical properties, more than that expected on usual, that is based on their family relationship. More than that, this particular phenomenon called lanthanide contraction makes them show very similar physical and chemical properties. Now here we can see the trends in M2 plus and M standard electrode potential. So you can see that here the observed values and versus the calculated values for standard potential elements from the elements titanium to zinc. So one thing, very important point to mention here is that the unique behavior of copper, it has a positive charge and electrode charge, accounting for its inability to liberate or release hydrogen atoms from acids, or hydrogen molecule from acid. So mostly oxidizing acids like nitric acid and hot concentrated sulfuric acid can react with copper, and what happens to the acids? They get reduced. So the general trend towards negative values across the series, that is the negative values of standard electron potential, which is shown by the symbol capital E minus, it is related to the increase in the sum of the first and second ionization enthalpies. And it is very interesting to note that the value of enthalpy for electrode potential for manganese, nickel and zinc are more negative than expected from the trend. So now you understood the variation of the observed mass versus the calculated mass from the chart we saw already. And now what is meant by phenomena paramagnetism? It arises from the presence of unpaired electrons, and each such electron, they have a magnetic moment which is associated with the spin angular momentum as well as the orbital angular momentum. So paramagnetism happens due to the presence of unpaired electron, and the magnetic moment is determined by looking at the number of electrons which is not paired, and it is calculated by using the spin only formula, which is given mu is equal to n into n plus 2, where n is the number of unpaired electrons and mu is the magnetic moment in units of Bohr magneton, which is known as Bm. Now you can see the calculated and observed magnetic moments from the table, and it is given in detail for each of the ions. You can see, and no need to by heart all this, you just need to know the trends or the difference or whatever is the variations along the chart. So just for your reference only I have included this. And next here we can see the colors of some of the first row aquated transition metal ions, and you can see the various colors and configuration as well of the different elements of the transition series. And you have to remember all the colors of, if they ask for V2 plus vanadium 2 plus, you have to say that it is violet. For Mn, manganese 2 plus, remember that it is pink. Fe2 plus is green and Fe3 plus is yellow. Nickel 2 plus is green, whereas zinc 2 plus is colorless. You have to remember that they will be asking the color of such ions. And now we will look at the preparation of potassium dichromate, which takes place in 3 steps. First step is to convert the chromite or to sodium chromate. So you can see in the equation, like iron chromate is treated with sodium carbonate with oxygen, you get sodium chromate. And again this conversion of sodium chromate to sodium dichromate by adding 2 hydrogen atoms, and then you get sodium dichromate. And finally sodium dichromate is treated with KCl, potassium chloride, and finally you get potassium dichromate and sodium chloride as the end product. So remember the steps, you have to better write these steps down and learn, so that you can recollect it easily, and also take the xerox of all these, print out of all these notes and keep it in your file for reference, so it is easy for you to revise it just before your exams. Now potassium permanganate preparation takes place in 2 steps. Don't get confused between the preparations of potassium dichromate and potassium permanganate, and here we are having only 2 steps. First step involves the conversion of pyrolusite ore into potassium manganate. Pyrolusite is nothing else but MnO2 plus KOH plus O2 gives K2MnO4, which is potassium permanganate plus water. And next step is the conversion of potassium manganate to potassium permanganate. So MnO4 2 minus plus 4 hydrogen atoms gives final product is potassium. From these steps you reach to potassium permanganate, and water will be one of the side products, and you can refer to the text for the detailed equation, and just remember the steps well. And also some parts are, even though it was eliminated or omitted for the previous year NEET exam, but it is better to cover all the topics, because you can get choice for these questions. As you know, last year they had given choice for extra questions were given. So out of 50 questions you were supposed to you were given 10 extra questions in addition to the normal 45 questions, and so it will be beneficial for you to remember so that you can attempt the extra questions as well. And potassium permanganate, then finally from this step, like MnO4 minus 2 minus, again you are treating this in laboratory. How you prepare is that the manganese salt, iron salt, is oxidized by peroxodisulfate to permanganate, and finally potassium permanganate forms dark purple or almost black crystals which are isostructural with those of KClO4. The salt is not very soluble in water, but when heated it decomposes. So the equation is 2KMnO4 gives, when it is heated you get K2MnO4 plus MnO2 plus O2. You can refer to page number 232 and 233, part 1, class 12, NCERT chemistry. So the equation is not complete here. And next one is lanthanoids. So the 14 elements after lanthanum, they have atomic number 58 to 71. They are known as lanthanoid, and the general electronic configuration is given here. You can refer, and Xc 4f1 to 14, because f orbital can maximum accommodate 14 electrons, and 5d 0 to 1 6s2, and most oxidation state of these elements is +3, but Ce shows +4, Eu +2, because they have got stable configuration, and the size of the lanthanoids and trivalent ion decreases from La to Lu due to poor shielding of 4f electrons, and again it is also due to lanthanoid contraction. And you have to learn the names of these transition elements from the symbol. So I am not going into detail. It is given as a chart in the textbook in detail. So here Ce stands for cerium and La for lanthanum. All these you have to remember. Then Pr for praseodymium, Nd for neodymium, so Eu for europium, Gd for gadolinium, Tb for terbium, and Er for erbium. Remember all these, and better you can learn from the textbook all these formulas. It is given in table in NCERT class 12 textbook, 236 page and 237, along with their electronic configuration, which is very important. And what are actinoids? The 14 elements after actinium, they have the atomic number 90 to 113 are called actinoids, and general configuration of this is Rn 5f 1 to 14, 6d 0 to 1, 7s2. The size of the actinoids and its trivalent ion decreases from Ac to Lw, and why this is happening? This is due to the poor shielding of 5f electrons, are known as, we have got lanthanide contraction as well as actinoid, same thing, actinoid contraction. And the elements after uranium 92, these are all man-made, and therefore they are known as transuranic elements. So they will be asking transuranic elements and all that, so you have to remember that. The elements after U92, they are not occurring in nature, but they are made by man, and so they are called transuranic elements. So next here you can see that copper is getting two types like ions. One is Cu plus 3d10 is the structure, it is not transitional, and whereas the second one Cu2 plus 3d9, it is transitional in nature. And what are the characteristics of transition elements? and D block metals. We'll just have a quick comparison of D block metals versus S block metals. The first one is the physical properties will vary slightly along with the atomic number across the series, that is for S block and P block elements, higher melting point, boiling point, density, hardness than S block elements of the same periods, and they show variable oxidation states when comparing with S block elements. Then also the formation of colored compounds and formation of complexes, catalytic properties, etc. And the electronic configurations, the building up, they follow the rule you might have already learned about, Aufbau principle, Pauli's exclusion principle, Hund's rule. I'll be uploading these topics from class 11 at a later stage, probably within a couple of weeks, so that you can go again and revise. Those who are appearing for NEET can go through it and revise quickly to recap all these. And then the next one is electronic configurations. 3D and 4s subshells, they are very close to each other in energy. Then the relative energy of electrons in subshells actually depend on the nuclear charge they experience, and the electrons always enter the 4s subshell first, and electrons also leave 4s subshell first. And then here you can see that the potential energy, that is relative energy levels of orbitals in atom and in ion. Left side you can see copper atom, right side you can see Cu2 plus ion. See the order starts from 1s, 2s, then it goes to 2p, then 3s, then 3p, then 4s, then 3d. That is the order. Whereas in Cu2 plus, what happens first, it goes to 1s, then 2s, same, 2p till there it is same, then 3s, then 3p, then 3d, only after that 4s. So finally it is 4s. Just look at the difference between these two. And electronic configurations are the valence electrons in the inner 3d orbitals, like examples, electronic configuration of scandium. You can see that it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, and before going to before going to next 4s2, it goes to 3d1 and then 4s2. Then electronic configuration of zinc, like from 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, till then it is same, but instead of here we are having 3d10 and then 4s2. Remember the difference. That is the diagram shows the valence electrons in the inner 3d orbitals, and you can see the electronic configurations of the first series of D block elements from atomic number 21 to 30. So you can see that we are all taking the first with respect to argon. Till then the configuration is the same, and after that for scandium it is 3d1, 4s2, then titanium 3d2. Like you can see that 3d1, d2, d3 is going up till copper it is 3d10, and for zinc also it is 3d10, and for 4s2, for scandium, titanium, vanadium it is 4s2 only, but for chromium it is 3d5, 4s1. You notice that it is not 3d4 and 4s2, it is 3d5 and 4s1. And then again for manganese also it is 3d5 and 3d6, 3d7, 3d8, but for copper it comes to 3d10 and 4s1. Just keep this in mind. So with that we come into the end of another awesome session, and I hope all of you have a clear idea of transition P block elements part 2. I have tried to include the important points from all the topics, so that just revising this before the exam as a last minute revision, and for even for NCERT class 12 kids who are finding the textbook difficult to learn and too lengthy, you can just go through these topics and then revise it well, so that you'll be finding it easy. And I'll be coming back with another session soon, and you must revise and recall everything that you study on a regular basis. This will help you remember all the concepts for a longer period. And then you must always you have seen all the previous year's questions in chemistry. Then you can see that there are negligible diagram based questions asked even in a subject like biology. So you may leave those structures, but if you are near about 670 to 700 scores in your mock tests, then you cannot leave them, because as you know NTA can ask any questions from anywhere. So better to revise the last 3 chapters here, biomolecules, polymers and chemistry in everyday life, just 2 days prior, because you know normally direct questions come from these chapters. So if you are fresh with it, then you save time along with ensuring marks. And with that we come to an end of today's session, and thanks